This is the Your Money Hour podcast. I am your host, Dakota Grady. Welcome to the show. And I have a guest tonight, via a good friend of mine, Carolyn Owens. And I have Elizabeth Pampalone. She is a marketing expert. Actually, her company is called Absolute Marketing. So, welcome to the show tonight, Elizabeth.
Thanks for having me.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. So, tell everybody about who you are and what you do.
So, I'm a marketer. I have been in the game for about 20 years. Seen a lot of stuff, seen a lot of messes. So, now what I do is I help small businesses and nonprofits to clean up their marketing messes and get all of their marketing done for the entire year in 5 days.
Ooh, 5 days, less than a week. Is
Yep,
that 5 business days or like
5 business days.
awesome? So, how'd you get into marketing first? And then, secondly, can you define what marketing is? Because so much around the word social marketing. And so, let's talk about those two things.
Yeah, so I actually started when I was 14. I was building websites and I loved it. I realized it was something that I could make something out of nothing, and I really enjoyed that. So I went to college for that, and then I ended up in another state. I was born and raised in Ohio, and we ended up moving to Florida when I was in my 20s, and I started my company there. So it was about 14 years ago that I started my company, and I've just been doing this ever since. The main thing that marketing is sending your message out to the people who need to hear it. And I always ask the three questions: who are you? What do you do? And who are you sharing it with? And basically, the answer to those three questions are your brand. And if you have a brand, you need somewhere to share it and put all that info out there. So that's a website. And then you need to get that information out to kind of the masses, if you will, and that would be social media. You also need to share that information so that things like Google and search engines can pick it up, and that would be through blogging, through your website. And then you would want to also send emails to people who are your fans who have said, yeah, I want to get these emails. I'm interested in this. And that's another way of marketing. So I really find that there's about 5 to 7 items that you need to actually market. And it's basically just sharing those three things: who you are, what you do, and who are you sharing it with the world.
So, basically, you're letting people know who you are, telling your story, and you're connecting with your target market in a nutshell, right?
Yeah.
All right. So, you mentioned messes earlier. Talk about that. Like, what messes or things that you see people maybe doing wrong, and how have you had helped them to correct those, I guess, issues?
A lot of times people start with the technical bits. They say, got to have a website, got to do some social media, got to be out there on SEO. And they just throw words around. They don't really know what they mean. And they don't really have anyone explain it to them. And I find that that's the biggest problem. People just get frustrated. They start with the end and then they expect the beginning to follow through. And that's not how things work. You can't start with a cake and then say, okay, what's in this? It's very difficult to say, are there eggs in it? Is there sour cream? Is it applesauce? Like you can't tell because it's already been baked and it's done. And so
Right.
that's what I find a lot of people do is start with the end and then they try to backtrack, and it doesn't always work that way. So my company and I try to help people go back to the beginning. Let's start with a fresh, clean slate. And a lot of people feel like that's starting over, but sometimes you have to start over in order to move forward.
You have to actually know what's on the cake before you bake a cake, right?
Yep.
Same thing with a company. You have to know your brand and who you're targeting. First, you got to find out who you are first. Like, you can't tell people who you are unless you know who you are, right?
Exactly.
So, what companies do you have you worked with? You mentioned small businesses. Like, who has been your target market? Or if you as a marketer?
So my target market is small business owners, and I work with mostly women business owners, but I do have a few male business owners as well. But my brand is very girly, so it appeals to women more. But it's really people who see that they've been lied to by other marketers. They've had someone take their money and run. They've had their website hang out for an entire year and it never got finished. Those types of people who've kind of been through the ringer with marketers, we're here to say, don't worry about that. Let's start fresh because, yeah, they screwed you over. They were pretty crappy. It's time to actually experience something that's the way it should be. And so that's really my people, is people that are kind of done with marketing. They're like, I don't even want to do this anymore. I'm so tired of it. I'm so tired of being lied to about it and spending money here and spending money there, and then realizing none of that was correct. But they don't understand what's correct because no one has sat down and just said, here are the basics. Let's do as much of this as we can and move forward. And so that's why I have the 5-day system. We start with the brand, that basic foundation. We build the website on top of the brand. We use the social media to refer back to the website. We use the blogging to enhance the SEO on the website. And then we use the email marketing to sell the products and services on the website. So everything goes back to those first 2 days. And some of my clients, they can't do the full 5 days. They can do the first 2. And I'm like, you know what? If you can get those first 2 done, you're golden. You can do the rest. You can figure it out. There's resources for that. But the first 2 are the most important. I also believe that some people should podcast. Not everybody, but some people should podcast. And I have a day that I do on that. And some people need memberships. That's a great way to market. That's a great product, a great like passive income piece. But not everybody needs that. Not everybody can handle that. Not everybody's business is suited for that. So there's a lot of pieces like that where people are told, you should do this, you should do that. And then they just end up with a big mess, and then they don't know what they have or what they're doing, and nothing is moving forward. Everything is just stuck. So my audience are those people that tired of the runaround, tired of the circles and the money and everything and the lies, and they just want somebody to tell them the truth and to say, just sort out and bring me what I actually need to do and get rid of all the other junk. So that's what we do.
All right. So meaning SEO, search engine optimization, right? Can you talk about that a little bit? What people Well, I guess you can start with, after you get the brand and the website, how do you enhance to get people traffic to your website?
So social media is a great way to do that because you have a large audience there and you can grow that really quickly and really inexpensively, almost free. If you're doing the content yourself, you can grow it free. If you're paying someone to do it, you're paying that amount, and that's how you grow it. And then blogging is a great way to enhance your search engine optimization, because social media and search engines, different things. But if someone's searching for, someone who's in finance or someone who does coaching or, whatever that is, you can write blog posts about those things, and then hopefully Google will use that to serve those clients to you. Not all the time. It's not magic. It doesn't happen overnight. It can take 6 months for social media or search engine optimization to actually even work. It can take 6 months for social media ads to even start working correctly. So there's a lot of time that has to pass before these things actually start doing something. And then there's a lot of trial and error. And this is with every business. There's no magic formula. If there was, everybody would be doing it. So I try to be realistic with people about those things. But SEO is something that if you blog and you do it correctly, that's all you need to do. If you have social media presence and you're doing it correctly and you're getting, people to start following you on a regular basis and you're gaining numbers, you're doing it correctly. So, there's not a lot that's here. A lot of people make it this big mystery, and there's not really a lot of mystery to it.
So in terms of social media, we have Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn,
Snapchat, TikTok.
TikTok. Thank you. And you have all those platforms. I heard it's good to focus on maybe 1 or 2, 3, not too many, at least 2. And so if your followers on Instagram, for example, focus on that, opposed to doing social media or Instagram and Facebook. I mean, of course, they're on both of those are on Facebook. But what's your strategy on that? Or what tips do you give people when it comes to social media?
Well, I like to get people to focus on 2 or 3. So that's the magic number there. You don't want to be on too many. But there's actually demographic information for each different platform. And if you don't know what that information is and what those demographics are, you're going to be on the wrong ones.
Yes.
I had a client who was working with people in their 50s and 60s who was caring for their parents. So this was a company that did home health care, and their target was the children of aging parents in their 80s and 90s. And she's on Instagram. Instagram is mostly women under 35. I was like, these ain't your people, and so to get her off, she was like, oh my gosh, thank goodness, I don't have to do it. I don't even understand it. And she was in her 50s. And I said, you don't have to do this. Now, LinkedIn, great network for her.
Yes, yes.
You know, a lot of people on there could be clients, but a lot of referral partners, a lot of people that in healthcare she could have referred to her. Facebook, another great thing where people are sharing that type of information with their peers. And then really that was it. Those were her two. There weren't really other options for her. You know, Pinterest maybe, you know, Twitter, no. I mean, it was just, they weren't really going to be worth it for her time. And so I said, these are your two. Let's focus on these. Done. And then we focused a lot on email marketing because her clients in that age range, email is super important to them. Social media, less so. So it worked out. And so that's the kind of thing I do. When it comes to that, you have to know the demographics. Twitter, mostly men under 35. And then people don't spend that much time on Twitter. They spend 2 or 3 minutes a day. People spend 20 to 90 minutes a day on Facebook. So you have these different numbers that you can look at and say, are these my people? Is this where they're hanging out? If yes, be there. If not, just ignore it and move on. You don't have to be on everything.
Correct. Yeah, I found research where it had a breakdown for different, each of those types of platforms. So it's out there. You just gotta know where to find it and how to use the information as well. So for those who are struggling with marketing, for example, you mentioned the 5 steps. Anybody, of course, don't give all your information away, but what could you give to the audience about those 5, 7 steps? Just maybe 5 of them.
So the branding, you need to know those 3 answers to those 3 questions. Who are you? What are you doing? And who are you sharing it with? So if you can answer those 3, that's your brand. And then you have your website. If your website is not user-friendly, I like to tell people to do a usability test where you actually ask someone who you're sitting with in person. This is best to do in person. You ask someone who doesn't really know about your website, maybe doesn't understand it, maybe it could be a total stranger. Say, I want you to do the number 1 thing on my website. Maybe that's book a call with you. Maybe that's buy a product, sign up for an email list, whatever your number 1 action is. That when a customer comes to your website, you want them to do that action. You get this random person you found to do that on your website. You bring it up in front of them and you have to be silent. Can't talk, can't move, can't point, can't grunt, can't nod your head to the side, nothing. You have to be completely silent. You can't help them at all. And they have to fumble around until they find what you told them to do. That could be really easy and it could take them 2 seconds. And then you know your website works. Or it could take them 10 minutes and they might even give up. They might even look at you and go, is it even in here? You know? And so that's your key to your test to say, is my site actually doing what it's supposed to? Or am I falling short here? And just because it's in my mind and I know it, then it makes sense to me. And I feel like it should make sense to everyone. But if this stranger cannot do the one thing that every client should be able to do on this website, and they're too confused and it's too overwhelming for them and they can't find what I'm asking them to do, definitely need to fix that website. I do a lot of audits on websites where I go through and I tell them those things because I'm that random person that gets to see it. And I do this kind of usability test on my own for them in video format because it's just so much easier to have somebody else tell you that it's wrong. And then with social, if you can create more than 1 post at a time, then do it. Like just create more than 1 post at a time. Sit down, give yourself the time. I tell people to spend 1 day a month on their business. 1 whole day, no phone calls, no answering emails, none of that stuff. You should be working on your content, your social, your website, your blogging, your stuff. For the blogging, if you can write 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 posts in a time, that's 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 months of content. You've already done it. So sit down, take 10 minutes, write a post. It doesn't have to be long. It doesn't have to be involved. You don't have to research usually. It's all up here in your mind. You just need to get it out there. And then for the email marketing, same thing. If you want to write a welcome sequence, 5, 6, 7 emails, separate them every 2 or 3 days, you send them out, set up an automation in your email system, write those emails ahead of time. First, I'm going to tell them this, then I want them to know this, then I want them to know this, then I want them to buy something else. Maybe they've signed up for a free ebook or something and you give them a welcome email. And then there's one that says, hey, remember that ebook you signed up for? Did you read this part? It's really interesting. Or the next one might be, hey, did you know that when you read that ebook, there's this companion product that goes with it, or there's a call that we can do, and I'm giving you this free. You're giving them that journey that says they're going to ignore the first 3 or 4 you send. But you're going to trigger their mind each time a little bit, until maybe that last one where they go, you know what, I'm ready to do those things. I'm going to go back and find that other email, or I'm going to click on this button and do it. So email marketing, sending up something just as simple as 3 or 4 emails, where they could be short. They do not need to be long. Think of yourself as a consumer. I shouldn't want to read a 50-page email. I don't want to do that. I also don't want to read super long, social posts. I don't want to read blogs that drone on for hours. So when you're doing these things, think of yourself as the consumer. What's your attention span like? What kind of information would you want if you were going to hire you? And make it really, really simple. And then knock these things out. Take one day a month and work 2 hours on website, 2 hours on social, 2 hours on your blog, and 2 hours on your email. That's your 8-hour day. Now you're done. But if you can get 2 hours each month into those things, and you're not distracted by other stuff, it's the day for that. No calls, no emails, nothing else, just those things.
All right. So brand, website, social, email marketing. Do you have clients do a content calendar as well? Because I have one. It has like different things: phone calls, emails, blog posts, just a variety of things I could do. And I try to do one post a day because I heard it's better to comment on people's posts opposed to putting more content out there. What are your thoughts on that? Is that something you recommend as well, or something totally different?
When I do a social media day with someone, we actually create up to 365 posts in one day. So the
Wow.
content calendar is done. We're done. So you can comment all you want. You can look up things, that you can do whatever you want, because all your posts are done. If you think of something exciting you want to share, or something exciting happens, or you find a great article, it's timely, it's of the moment, and you obviously didn't know about it 6 months ago when we did our day together, that's fine. You should post that. But what happens is people get paralyzed when they don't have time to sit and write all the posts. They're too busy. Something happens with family or just work in general. Life gets busy. And then they're sitting there at night. It's 11 p.m. and they're going, oh my gosh, I forgot to post on my thing. Oh, and then 3 weeks go by and you've posted nothing, because that same thing happens every single day. Oh, I forgot to put, oh, I forgot to, oh, and then it becomes this guilt thing. And now you're feeling guilty about it. And then you're like, it's almost like, when you don't go to the dentist for a long time, and then you're like, oh, it's going to be really bad, isn't it, when I go in there? Then you feel that way about your social media. Oh, it's going to be really bad when I go in there. Oh, I got to do all this stuff. I got to apologize for not being around. And
Yeah.
now I got to kind of somehow ease back into it. And like, I've been absent for 3 months now, and so it becomes this big thing in our mind, when if we were to just say, start at the beginning of the year, or really whenever, and do an entire year's worth of content. I do between 3 to 7 days a week, one post a day.
Wow.
And that's what we create in that day, that one day that we work together, all those posts. Then if something happens that's exciting, I post it. If 3 weeks go by and I don't post anything, and all I do is maybe I comment a couple times, or maybe I share a few things, but my content's still going out. I'm not sitting there wondering, oh, what should I post? No, I posted about that last week. Well, did I post about that last week? I can't remember. So all my stuff is done, and I'm not here stressing about that and having that just as another to-do list thing. I can sit down with my phone or sit at my computer and go, I feel like commenting on some stuff today. I'm going to do that. I have a few
Right.
minutes. I'm going to do that really quick. And it's not this big burdensome thing.
Right. And one thing I love about the podcast I do is, well, not the, I love my podcast, but how I do it, I basically like I stack mine. That way I don't have to worry about, oh, I do a podcast. I mean, it's already stacked, already programmed for it to go actually go out on Tuesday. So all I do like for hours, I'll comment on it in terms of adding the detail of it, and then I'll schedule it to go out sometime in like March or something like that. But it's done. But relief.
Yep. Yep. Imagine if all your social media was done, all your blogging was done for the year, all your email marketing was done for the year.
That'll be like
3 days.
crazy.
That's
That'll
3
be
days
like
right there.
so much time for you to do what you want to do, and just focus on your business. So as we wrap up, talk about the SEO, talk about the website, the marketing. What else could you give the audience? Something that you learned from your experience, from starting a business. Like, this is about money, business, and life. What challenges have you overcome in your business to get to where you are in year number 20?
So my main thing and my main advice to people who are starting their business or who are just, they have a business in general, and maybe they're feeling like, was this really what I wanted to do? Because sometimes you get to that point. And even if you're starting a business, you're like, how am I ever going to break into this? Like, this industry is tight. You know, everyone thinks that about their industry. This is tight. Like, I can't even like break in, right? And when I look at that stuff and I look back at my career and the things that I've done in my industry, my advice is break your industry. You have to break it into pieces. And when I was in mine, it was about 5 years ago. I had been in marketing for several years. I had my firm for a while. I had been basically marketing since, I guess it was 15 years before that, and I was just at that point where nothing was working. I was stressed about everything I was doing. I loved my job still. I still loved marketing, but the business itself, the way the industry told you to do X, Y, and Z, and a lot of people say, well, that's just the way it is. You just have to do it that way. That's the way everyone else does it. And if you want to be successful, you got to do it that way. I said, no, I'm done with this. I'm done doing 30-day websites. I'm done doing 6-week websites. I'm done taking, 15, 20 hours a week to work on someone's social media. That's stupid. And no one had time for me. Everyone was saying, well, I don't have time to do my website. Well, we booked this and we knew we were going to have to work with you, but we don't have time. This is just too time consuming. I'll get with you later. And then on the last day of our contract, so day 29 of 30, they would just flood my inbox with everything, acting like I was just going to make this miracle happen in less than 8 hours or less than 24 hours. And me being the lovely person that I am and the very conscious business owner that I am, I would make this stuff happen. And it was torturous because it was 29 days of stress and then 1 day of mega stress trying to get something done and then making the client happy in the end. And I'm like, why am I torturing myself? This industry is broken. I need to completely break it. It's like using a broom where like the thing falls, the brush falls off and you're trying to sweep and then you go and then the brush falls off and then you go over, you pick it up, you twist it back on and you're sweeping and things are okay. And then the brush falls off again. You're like, I cannot use this tool, right? This is a broken tool. And if I'm going to actually make it work, I either need to just break it completely and go, Mom, I'm getting a new one. Like, this is done. I'm done with this. And that's what I had to do with the industry. I had to break it. And I said, this is stupid. Why are we torturing ourselves? And since I've been doing the in-a-day stuff, so about 4 years ago, since about, I guess, 4 or 5 years ago in that, ish range, people have started copying me because they were like, yeah, the industry's broken. So if you really want to succeed in your industry, and at this point in this time and age that we live in, my advice is break your industry. And it will make you way more successful than trying to do it the old way.
And there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Break your industry. You want to be different, be weird. So, Elizabeth, how can we find out about you, your website, and social?
You can go to getabsolutemarketing.com. I have a great membership with a trial, free 7-day trial you can check out. Do tons of stuff in there. It's a lot of fun. We have a lot of information in there, a lot of videos, how-tos. And I also have all my pricing on my website, my portfolio. You guys can learn all about Absolute Marketing.
All right. Well, thank you for your time, Elizabeth. And this is the Your Money Hour podcast.